Hi, I'm Karen Douglas. I'm the presenter of this virtual presentation. I'm joined by my colleague, Jean Theodori at Sam Houston State University, and we're joined by our colleagues at Texas A&M University in College Station. Our point of departure for this presentation is Amory Levin's 1978 article in the Annual Review of Energy entitled Soft Energy Technologies. By soft technology, he meant diverse, renewable sources that are relatively simple from the user's point of view and that are matched in scale and energy quality to all range of end-use needs. End-use needs like baking bread or refrigerating milk. These include wind, solar, and geothermal technologies. Levins contends that rising economic, environmental, and political costs diminishes the practicality of hard technologies. Understand he was writing in the 1970s, and he was widely lambasted at the time, but looking back, he was pretty prescient. Levins also noted that hard and soft paths are not mutually exclusive and can coexist, and that the crucial elements of a soft path include greatly improved end-use technology, transitional fossil fuel technologies, and policy instruments for implementation. Geothermal energy is one of the oldest yet least recognized form of renewable energy. Geothermal energy is heat that comes from the subsurface of the earth. It's contained in the rocks and the fluids beneath the earth's crust. To produce power from geothermal energy, wells are dug into underground reservoirs to access the steam and hot water there, which can then be used to drive turbines connected to electricity power. Geothermal energy has many advantages over solar and wind systems. It's unaffected by weather, so it doesn't matter whether the wind's blowing or whether the sun is shining. It's very stable, and it has a less ecological effect. It takes less land as well to operate. Texas is well situated to develop its geothermal resources. The extensive drilling that is currently underway and that has already taken place means that the state has an existing network of data on wells already drilled up to depths as much as 8 kilometers. Temperature data suggests good potential for geothermal development from either current or abandoned oil and gas wells. More than 12 billion barrels of water are currently produced each year from oil and gas wells in Texas, and heat from this water could be used to generate electricity. Also, Texas has a good climate, politically and socially, that is broadly supportive of energy development. In fact, it's a large employment sector in the state. Texas leads the nation in oil and gas production. We're also taking a lead on developing the soft energy. For example, we lead the nation in energy developed by wind, and we're growing our use of solar energy. Geothermal energy, unfortunately, the development of geothermal energy lags. Matagorda County was selected for the study for two main reasons. The county is situated along the Gulf Coast that has a tremendous potential for geothermal energy development, and where co-production with existing oil and gas wells may be possible. Secondly, the county has a unique history of energy development. Not only has oil and gas been in the county for more than 100 years, the county is also home to a nuclear power plant which has been in operation since 1988. The plant employs about 1,200 people. The local population is slightly more than 36,000, so you see it is a fairly significant employer in the region. And in 2013, the county residents organized a successful grassroots effort against a coal-fired electric plant. They're also developing their soft energy sources, including new crops for renewable fuel production. And this past spring, a wind farm began commercial operation. All the while, the county also promotes itself as an energy cluster for conventional and green power generation and energy fuels production. Data used in the analysis for this presentation was collected by Texas A&M University, the Department of Ecosystem Science and Management. Data collection began in the summer of 2014 and continued throughout the fall. It was a mail survey of Matagorda County residents to gauge perceptions of energy development. Survey participants were randomly selected from Matagorda County residents who were 18 years of age or older. 316 questionnaires were returned. The data in this presentation is based on 274 that were sufficiently completed and used for the data analysis. Some brief demographic characteristics of the project participants. The average age of respondents was 59 years. Their average length of residency in the county was 34 years. Mostly white respondents, 81%. They were male, mostly, 61%. Homeowners, 86%. About half were employed. A third were retired. And significantly, most either had family or knew somebody that was employed in the energy sector. We had several research questions, the first one being, to what extent do residents of Matagorda County agree that various energy types, both hard and soft, are or could be an asset to Matagorda County? County residents were asked about each of 6 different types of energy. The table here presents the mean score of agreement that a particular energy would be an asset to the county. Residents have higher levels of agreement that nuclear and oil and gas are positive assets to the county. This is not too surprising since these forms of energy currently exist in the county. They have the lowest level of agreement that coal would be a positive asset, and that's not too surprising either given that the residents shot down or organized against a coal-fired power plant. Unfortunately for geothermal energy, it ranked second to the last, only ahead of coal in terms of being seen as an asset to the county. County residents were also asked to what extent they agreed that they considered themselves knowledgeable about various energy types. Again, the table presents the mean scores of Matagorda County residents who agree that they consider themselves knowledgeable about a specific energy type. And consistent with the findings of asset, we see that residents report being more knowledgeable about oil and gas and nuclear, the 2 types of energy already found in the county. And that, unfortunately for geothermal, residents are least knowledgeable about geothermal energy. The third research question that we had were what factors are associated with residents' agreement or disagreement that specific hard and soft energy types would be or are positive assets to the county. Various correlates that we included in our analysis included environmental ideology as measured by Dunlap's new ecological paradigm, self-reported knowledge of each corresponding energy type, sociodemographics including gender, age, income, educational attainment, and race. We had several hypotheses that we were testing, including Hypothesis 1, environmental ideology is negatively associated with agreement that hard energy types are or would be positive assets to the county. Hypothesis 1b, environmental ideology is positively associated with agreement that soft energy types would or are positive assets to the county. Hypothesis 2a, self-reported knowledge is negatively associated with agreement that hard energy types would or are be positive assets to the county. Hypothesis 2b, self-reported knowledge is positively associated with agreement that soft energy types could be positive assets to the county. And hypothesis 3, Environmental ideology is positively associated with self-reported knowledge of various energy types. So what did we find? We found substantial support for hypotheses 1A and 1B, which makes sense. Hypothesis 1A is environmental ideology is negatively associated with agreement that hard energy types are positive assets to Matagorda County. Again, if you have a strong environmental ideology, you're less supportive of the hard energy, of the fossil fuel energies. And hypothesis 1B holds that environmental ideology is positively associated with agreement that soft energy types could be positive assets to Matagorda County. Again, if you have a strong environmental ideology that you support renewable energies, makes sense. We didn't find any support for hypothesis 2A, 2A being self-reported knowledge is negatively associated with agreement that hard energy types are or would be positive assets to the county. Instead, we see that self-reported knowledge is positively associated with 2 of the 3 hard energy types, oil, gas, and nuclear, the 3 that currently exist in the county. We also found substantial support for hypothesis 2B, which also makes sense, given that residents that have more of a pro-environmental ideology agree that soft energy would be an asset to the county. We did not find support for hypothesis 3. Instead, residents with more pro-environmental views reported lower levels of agreement that they are familiar with geothermal energy. Males have lower levels of pro-environmental views than do females. And males were more likely than females to report higher levels of agreement that they are familiar with all 6 energy types that we asked them about. So what does the literature tell us about the public acceptance of geothermal resource development? We know that the political and public acceptance of geothermal energy as a green and economically feasible energy source is weaker than for most other soft energy sources. There are several articles that detail the barriers, social, environmental, and political, to geothermal energy development, and all recognize that public buy-in is a prerequisite to successful geothermal projects, especially because geothermal resource development requires high initial investments. Cataldi contends, I quote, social acceptance is an important requisite for the smooth implementation of geothermal projects, especially those for electrical generation, end quote. So what are the other prerequisites? Well, another prerequisite is identifying the elements of the local environment which can influence social acceptance of the geothermal project. Minimizing environmental impacts, avoiding the adverse effects on people's health, and really creating and educating the public about the direct benefits of geothermal energy development and that geothermal as a resource. So if we revisit Levin's crucial elements of soft energy paths, which are greatly improved end-use technology, transitional fossil fuel technologies, and policy instruments for implementation, we have not made great strides in improving the end-use technologies for geothermal energy. We do have transitional fossil fuels, including solar, wind, and biofuels, and with regards to policy, these two have lagged. Geothermal development requires political support at all levels. According to Williamson, quote, the doubt about whether policies supporting renewable energy will continue is perhaps the single greatest factor inhibiting geothermal resource development, end quote. Because of the large initial investments needed to locate geothermal resources and its transmission limitations, geothermal resources must be developed close to their source. Political support is necessary. So what do the findings of our survey indicate for the development and deployment of geothermal energy in Matagorda County? Recall that when we asked residents whether or not geothermal energy would be an asset to the county, we had low levels of agreement on this. Also, knowledge about geothermal energy is quite low among county residents, even those who espouse strong pro-environmental ideology. When we revisit Levin's soft paths with regards to geothermal energy development, The end-use technology improvements lag, and that's still an issue and that the county would have to address. The transitional fossil fuel developments in the county's already developing, has a commercial development of a wind farm, and they're developing biofuels. Geothermal energy seems a natural for the county. The extensive history of oil and gas development obviates some of the most costly aspects of geothermal development, namely locating the resource. Also, with the long history of oil and gas development, the hot fluids encountered in oil and gas are generally considered to be a nuisance, but instead could be harnessed as a source of geothermal energy. Political support for geothermal development has been inconsistent. However, the Department of Energy grant to the University of Texas is a positive sign that there is support for developing this renewable resource. Given the relative lack of knowledge among Matagorda County residents, and given that this is a population more savvy than most on various types of energy, both hard and soft, it's safe to say there's work to be done on educating the local population. We need to find ways to disseminate scientific information and encourage communication processes on geothermal energy to the residents of Matagorda County. This concludes our presentation. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to your questions.